Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Threezero FigZero 1/4 scale, 1/6 scale Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Green Ranger. And I don't collect this scale, and I don't collect figures with clothes on them, but it's Power Rangers. I figured I'd give it a shot. They're relatively cheap. I was going to get the whole crew, and I decided not to spend the cash on it, but I figured I could at least get Green Ranger and let you guys know how it is. And there's some good stuff about it, and there's some bad stuff about it, not surprising. You might still want to get it though. The price is going to be a big factor here. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just above 12 inches. Okay, of course. Let's go ahead and use the other thing. He stands about 1 3/8 inches tall. That's going to make him, let's just say 32 centimeters. So he's a little bit taller than I would expect because he's over 6 foot tall at that size. But hey, what are you going to do? All right, so before we get into this question of the day, very, very easy question. Which is your favorite? Which is your favorite Power Rangers team? For me, it's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, of course. But you guys don't have to have that opinion. You are allowed to be wrong. It's okay. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the aesthetic on this guy. First off, it doesn't look anywhere near as good as it looked in the promo images. I can find them hopefully online, and if not, I'll still show you this here, because this is the actual figure right there, those images right there, and you can see his pec, you can see his ribs, you can see he's got a little bit of thickness to his torso, he's got some shape, his suit is tight, and it fits his body. Okay, now obviously those could be remastered images, as in photoshopped, but that is what we were being sold. That's what it was being marketed as. And I will show you here, he doesn't have any shape to his body. He's so straight up and down. He's like a complete beanpole. There is no real shape to him at all. Now underneath, you can feel there is some kind of sculpted body. If I pull it close tight, you can kind of see his muscles right there and a little bit of pec up there, but it doesn't look anything like, it doesn't have anywhere near the body shape that the promo images had for him. And if you do pull it close tight, he gets even skinnier, of course. So it doesn't look anywhere near as good. His crotch seam is way more pronounced on the actual figure than it was in the images. And the arms are just so shapeless. They're so shapeless, and the shirt is baggy. And he has really significantly less of a cool look than he did in the promo images. That being said, once you pose him in a pose that you like, you'll probably be able to have an angle that he looks pretty good in. It does not look as good as it should, though, based on the promo images. It's very disappointing. As far as the detail work goes, the paintwork for the gloves, it's all very clean. The gold and the green on both sides, that's nice. Same thing for the boots, no problems there. The morpher, whatever that thing's called on the belt, I don't remember anymore. I haven't watched Power Rangers in forever. That's really clean. The chest, it's okay. It's pretty good. I don't know why they did like a silver dry brushing on it. You can see the scuffs are right here. That's all the way around on here. It's to kind of give it highlights, I guess. But it doesn't look as good as it should. And then, of course, the black line that's in there doesn't look as clean as it should as a result. So I'm not in love with that. The helmet looks pretty good. Like lately, Power Rangers figures have had a lot of trouble with their helmets being accurate. I don't know why that's been a thing, but his is pretty good. It's not perfect. It's not as wide as it should be, but it's good enough that it doesn't really look too bad unless you're really trying to tell. Like, yes, it's not perfect. I get it, and I can see it. I'm guessing it's close enough that most people won't mind. It is well painted, though, very well painted. It's very, very clean. The visor's super glossy. In fact, the whole thing's pretty glossy. It does look very nice. Okay, so that's all good. Now it's time for another bad thing from the aesthetic perspective. And I could be wrong about this. You guys can let me know. I didn't have a chance to look. We're going to talk about him falling over constantly, because that's a problem. But I thought he was supposed to have the black pouch and the regular pouch. Am I wrong, or is that just a different time period? Or is that like, is this a thing? Is this accurate? You can let me know if I'm right or wrong. I'm guessing maybe it was a separate thing where he got the other thing later, and this is like when he was the bad guy version. I don't know. You guys can let me know. Okay, so yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that for the aesthetic. It's definitely not as good. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to mention too. The gloves are super thick at the end of the wrist. So instead of looking like bunched gloves, it just looks like a big tube on his arm. And then you can't pose the hands, we'll get to that, because of the thickness of the gloves at the end, so that's a bit of a bummer. So yeah, aesthetically speaking, it's not great. He does have the more, I keep thinking of other things I wanted to mention. Well, better I mention it than not. He's got the more of like the bluish green for the outfit. It's not that vibrant of a green, which is how it should be. But his helmet is not quite as bluish green as the body. So I don't know. I know a lot of places make him super green, like an emerald green all the way through. The helmet's closer to that. It just seems like it's not quite right to me. It seems off. It's not bad. It still looks good on a shelf, but it seems a little bit off, and I'll see if I can find some images to put against it so you can have an idea what I'm talking about. But it still doesn't look bad. I'm not thoroughly disappointed because it is a 12-inch figure at only $100 or less if you buy the 6-pack. I'm pretty sure that's $50 off at Big Bad Toy Store. So it's fine for the price, but it's not as good as it should be. I'll give it a 7. I think it's okay. Now, as far as accessories go, you do get the 2 fist hands, you get the 2 weapon gripping hands, you get the 2 flute gripping hands, you get another grippy / open hand, then you get 2 relaxed open hands. Not bad for the hands. You do get, of course, the dragon dagger and then the sword of Teen Angst, I think is what that's called. And so they're both really well done, very nicely detailed. They look fantastic, and we do get the rope tassel for the angsty sword. So yeah, nice accessories. I don't know what else you would want, really. So I'm pleased with that, and I'll give that I'll go 9 out of 10. That's pretty good. I like it. Okay, now for the articulation. It's basically your run-of-the-mill Marvel Legends type articulation, except in the torso, and maybe that's about it. Kind of. Wow, somebody's car is very noisy. Alright, I don't know if you guys could hear that. So the head is on a double ball peg, and then the neck is also on a peg, and there is some sculpt work to the neck, so you're going to want to move that around as you can, but it's not going to twist a whole lot easily. It's soft under there, and it's made to twist and move, but it doesn't really. So you're just going to be moving the helmet around mostly on top of the head, or on top of the neck, but it does work really well in that sense, so that's pretty good. Like, it moves around a lot. They nailed that. Getting this to move, basically not going to happen. For the shoulders, which are very small, by the way, you have a ball peg that lets them wiggle around, and then you have your standard ball hinge. And you can get up better than horizontal, so that's okay. That's fine. Rotating the arm around does work. You're going to have to mess around with the sleeves, of course, because it's a clothed figure, and there's nothing you can really do about that. These guys are separate pieces. They're not connected. So you can adjust those if you need to. You can take these off and the gloves off, and the arm sleeve will move around freely, and then you can reshackle the bicep and the gauntlet on there. So that works pretty well. That's fine. You do get a bicep swivel in there, double jointed elbow. It all works pretty well. It's not the best looking thing in the world, but it does function. You get to good range. And then for the wrists, this is the thing that drives me nuts. This is not Marvel Legends like. They fall out. Every time you try to swap the hands, the whole joint comes out. It's because it's a split arm. I don't know why they did that. There's not enough pressure on the teeth on here, so it just pulls right out. Not a great design. It can be dealt with, but it's annoying. But you do get a ball hinge wrist, which would be good, except it's so far recessed in this giant tube of a glove that the hands get very, very little range. So holding the swords or the weapons effectively, he can hold them, but he's not going to do a ton of posing. So that's a bit of a bummer, especially if you don't want gaps there. So definitely could be better. Now the torso feels like there's a ball peg down here and a double ball peg up here, and it has like a silicone body or something in there that's supposed to give him shape. And he can technically pose, but watch what happens. He's got snap back to center action. So, not posing. Leaning him forward and back, that works a little bit. Maybe there's a hinge in there. That works, but leaning back works way better than leaning forward. As you can see, leaning forward, he just snaps back. So basically it's the same situation, though nowhere near to the same degree as the Threezero Master, or 3A Master Chief, which was a giant slap in the face to anybody who bought it as a giant piece of crap. And this guy has a lot of the same problems in that he doesn't have articulation that's actually functional. The belt is a floating piece. It can rotate around to pose it how you need to. This is a separate piece also. And you can actually remove the belt. You can slip this piece off. You have a little clip down here, and then you can pop it off if you want to. So you can do that. Unfortunately, if you get him into certain poses, it does hike his unitard up a little bit too high, and you can see the seam above the belt, which is not a huge deal. but it depends on how you pose him. You're gonna have to keep that belt fairly high, so be aware of that. Now for the hips, we have our standard hinge going out to the side, and the spandex suit does work well enough. It does want to pull his legs back down some, but you can get pretty decent range out to the side. That's okay. The crotch is not as well sculpted. I know that's a weird thing to talk about, but it doesn't look as good as it did in the promo images. Once you pose him, it does look a little funky. You can get the legs up pretty much horizontal though, so that's pretty good. Another thing, the thighs don't have as much meat on him as the promo images did either. Now I know he's not supposed to be bulky, but he's very, very skinny and tubular. They do go back just a little bit. As you saw in the beginning when you pose him, the cheeks are permanently in place, and they can get very obvious if he's got his legs forward and kind of like a knee bent type of martial arts pose. His cheeks will seem to stick out a lot because they do stay there no matter what. They're not connected to the legs in any way. You do get a thigh swivel, so that's good. Double jointed knee works well enough. That's fine. And then for the ankles, it's not quite the same as the hands. We do get a lot of the boot right here going down over the foot, but we have a big ball peg. / double ball peg. However, it doesn't give you that much range because of the way the boot cuff goes down and because the foot pops off of that double ball peg all the freaking time. There's just no room for it to move, so it's really just going to be adjustment posing. You're not going to be able to get a ton of posability because this comes down so far. I guess, can we hike it up? No, you can't hike it up, so you really can't pose the foot that much. You get a little bit of range going forward. It's disconnected right now. So yeah, when you try to go back, it just pops off. Very limited range. I guess you could trim away some of this and get some more, but you have to do that, so that's a bummer. So the articulation is passable at best. He doesn't like to stay standing. He wants to fall over all the time, unless he's like perfectly... he's very top heavy, and he's very skinny, so he doesn't like to balance well. Yeah. These are all problems. However, it's like I said in the beginning, it is only a $100 12-inch figure. So the articulation kind of sucks, but it's good enough, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10 for that. But it's time for the final verdict on this guy. With all of those problems, is it worth buying? Well, yes, it's got basically tons of problems. Am I disappointed in it? Personally, yeah, it doesn't look anywhere near as good as it should based on the images. However, for $100, I think it's good enough. It looks good enough once I get it in a cool pose, and I'm personally okay with it. You're gonna have to decide for yourself if you're gonna be okay with it. I'll give it a final rating of 7 out of 10 because the price point is low enough that I can excuse the problems. I just wish it didn't have the problems because it doesn't need to have them without costing more. Like, they could easily not have those problems and it would still cost the same price. So it could be a lot better, but I think for you Power Rangers fans, if you're into this size or just the look of the figure, go ahead and grab them. The 6-pack, I do believe, is only $5.50, so that's a steal of a deal for the size. Good accessories. It's good enough. That's best I can say is it's good. It's a good enough figure for the price point, but it will leave those of you who are particularly partial to quality a little bit disappointed probably. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.